Welcome to this explainer. Grab your binoculars, folks, because today we're stepping into one of the most unpredictable, absolutely wild ecosystems on the planet, the stock market. I want you to think of this almost like a nature documentary, but instead of the African savanna or the deep ocean, we're going to observe the fascinating, highly erratic, and honestly, sometimes completely unhinged flora and fauna of the financial world. We're going to catalog the distinct behaviors, the diets, and the habitats of the traders out there in the wild. Okay, let's dive right in. To really wrap your head around this ecosystem, you have to appreciate the sheer absurdity of it. It is literally the one place on Earth where the brightest, most educated minds, we're talking absolute geniuses building complex mathematical models, operate side by side with complete degenerates who make huge financial decisions based entirely on vibes. And the wildest part of the whole thing? Sometimes the guy eating the crayons actually wins. Let's see who these people really are.
All right, let's start our observation with species number 1. The value investor, or as some call him, the Warren Buffett disciple.
This is our first, and frankly, our most painstakingly boring species, the traditionalist. This is an investor who genuinely considers sitting down and reading a company's 10K annual report a thrilling weekend activity. His daily habits have a very distinct, hilariously bland profile. His wardrobe consists entirely of khakis and multiple shades of beige. He drinks his coffee lukewarm, and Benjamin Graham's classic book, The Intelligent Investor, he basically views that as light erotica. When it comes to romance, he's strictly a missionary position kind of guy. Overall, interacting with this species is the human equivalent of watching paint dry. He won't shut up about economic moats, and he will gladly spend 400 hours obsessing over intrinsic value and compound growth.
But here is the comedic punchline to all of that intense, boring research. If you ever walk up to a value investor and ask him what his year-to-date return is, he'll inevitably dodge the question. He'll look at you and say, well, actually, I invest for the long term. And investing for the long term is just a polite translation for the fact that he has been drastically underperforming the broader market since the Bush administration.
Moving on to a completely polar opposite energy, we have species number 2, the hustler, often self-titled the entrepreneur. This guy is a hyper-aggressive, relentlessly energized pseudo-businessman who wakes up every single morning, jumps into a cold plunge, and thumps his chest to David Goggins' podcasts during what he likes to call his meditation time. Now, his idea of diversified income streams means something very different than it does to a normal financial advisor. To him, diversification means placing a parlay on sports betting apps, throwing money at random crypto meme coins, and literally charging his friends a $20 cover to get into his own house party. In reality, his actual financial portfolio consists of exactly 3 meme stocks, a sketchy Forex trading course he bought online, and a pending DUI.
If we peek into his habitat, the markers are so obvious. You'll always find a Hustle Hoarder poster tacked up on the wall, at least 3 empty Red Bull cans scattered on his desk, and some suspicious white powder sitting on his nightstand. Frankly, this is the guy you desperately hope you don't run into at the grocery store, because within 5 minutes he will inevitably try to convince you that, bro, the best investment is in yourself. The harsh reality of this species? He isn't actually trying to beat the market at all. He's just trying to beat his legal charges.
Creeping further into the financial wilderness, we find species number 3, the chart artist, our resident pseudo-intellectual.
This is the type of investor who stares at a glowing stock chart with the exact same wide-eyed intensity that a conspiracy theorist uses when analyzing grainy UFO footage. While our boring value investor idolizes Warren Buffett, the chart artist, he idolizes Pablo Picasso. To this species, corporate fundamentals are just for boomers who are stuck in the past. He has absolutely no idea what a company actually does, and he doesn't care. Instead, he sits in the dark, surrounded by 12 glowing monitors, literally seeing shapes like bull flags in his morning coffee. He believes every candlestick tells a deep story. He doesn't do due diligence, folks. He draws art. And whatever you do, never, ever interrupt an artist at work.
Okay, time to dive straight off the deep end into modern degeneracy with species number 4, the Web3 bro, frequently categorized as the unemployed Discord addict.
This is a truly fascinating creature. He will loudly insist to anyone who will listen that all traditional fiat currency is a total scam, while completely unironically relying entirely on his mom's Venmo account to survive. His financial timeline is tragic, yet undeniably hilarious. On day 1, he starts with $400. By month 6, he has remarkably peaked at $13,000. But then, month 7, He falls victim to a rug pull on a meme coin literally named Fartcoin, dropping his entire net worth straight back down to zero. Of course, he insists he was simply early to the trade, and he refers to losing everything he owns as a learning experience, all while living totally off-grid in a van.
Let's look at his tangible assets. They consist of exactly 12 NFTs of pixelated animals. That's it. He hasn't filed his taxes since 2021 because, as he puts it, the blockchain is borderless, man. He spends 8 hours every single day in Twitter Spaces aggressively arguing about the future of global finance with literal 14-year-olds. But here is the ultimate twist with this species. He uses incredibly fancy technological jargon to mask the fact that he has absolutely no idea how the blockchain actually works or what Web3 even is.
Shifting into absolute high gear now, we encounter species number 5, the options addict, the roaring kitty disciple.
The YOLO trader, a nocturnal creature whose bodily composition is roughly 90% Monster Energy drinks and Hot Pockets, and who honestly hasn't seen natural daylight since GameStop peaked way back in 2021. To communicate with this species, you really have to understand his intense psychological gymnastics. When his portfolio suffers a catastrophic 40% pullback, he calls that just consolidation. When he suffers massive, life-altering trading losses, he proudly refers to them as his battle scars. And his master plan to build generational wealth involves buying weekly call options, and when they inevitably expire completely worthless, he loudly blames it on blatant market manipulation. He doesn't do technical analysis, he's never read an earnings report in his life, he just trades on pure feeling. And he has absolutely no clue what a Roth IRA even is.
And finally, we arrive at the absolute darkest corner of our Wall Street ecosystem, species number 6, the Doomsday Bear, also known as the Shorter.
This is a man who literally does not blink. He lives entirely inside the cells of Microsoft Excel, and he considers watching the movie The Big Short to be a profound spiritual awakening. Because he aggressively calls absolutely every single asset class in the world a bubble, even the non-tradable ones. He lives in this constant state of paranoia. He paces around his apartment all day long in his designated pacing socks, surrounded by gallons of emergency water jugs and stacks of canned beans, violently mumbling to himself about synthetic CDOs while clutching Q1 earnings reports from 2012.
And that brings us to one of the most stunning data points in our entire explainer, 137. To put that into perspective, that is the exact number of times in a row that the Doomsday Bear has been completely wrong about the imminent fall of Western finance.
Yet, despite being wrong 177 times, his motivation never, ever wavers. His response is always the exact same. One day the market will crash, one day the Fed will be exposed. You see, he doesn't just want money. He's short the market, he's short the economy, and honestly, he's short hope itself. He's entirely motivated by this burning desire to watch the world burn down, just so he can stand in the smoldering ashes, look around, and whisper, "I told you so."
So let's pause our observation here for just a second. After touring this entire chaotic ecosystem, exploring the diets, the habitats, and the wild financial delusions of these diverse species, we have to ask ourselves, what is the grand takeaway from this whole explainer? What have we actually learned today?
Absolutely nothing. Despite all the glowing monitors, all the intense podcaster posturing, all the complex charts, and all the aggressive chest thumping, none of this actually means anything concrete.
Just look at the absolute extremes of the investor ecosystem. On one side, you've got people dedicating their entire lives to reading Warren Buffett's annual letters as if they were sacred, ancient scripture, and on the exact opposite end, you have someone aggressively betting their month's rent money on a random candlestick pattern they found online called the inverted frog. It just highlights how beautifully absurd the entire spectrum of financial strategy truly is.
Which brings our narrative full circle, right back to the very first thing we established at the start of this explainer. The one sacred, universal truth of the stock market. Whether you're wearing beige khakis and drinking lukewarm coffee, or you're living off-grid in a van running from the IRS, everyone is ultimately just guessing. Nobody knows what the hell is going on.
And that brilliantly illustrates the beauty of the market ecosystem. It really does take all kinds to keep the wheels turning. So I'll leave you with this final thought before you log off today. Take a hard look at your own portfolio, your own glowing screens, and your own caffeine intake. Which species of investor are you slowly turning into, and is it time to finally change your habitat?